Welcome! Thank you for coming to my presentation. And now, let's get straight to business. First part to be made is the turret ring. I will be using it as a reference point while making every subsequent part of the hull. This part is essentially the main frame of the upper hull. It serves as housing for turret ring, engine deck, upper front plate and fenders. This laminated filler serves both as spacer between upper and middle hull frames and also as a solid foundation for the upper front plate. Lower frame is much narrower to accommodate rounded sides of Patton tank. To make sides, first I take measurements at the spot. Then using needle I can bend them into shape. Final check. Installing additional surface to improve adhesion. Upper front plate's geometry is defined at the spot. This procedure has to be repeated multiple times until the result is satisfactory. Now, very carefully, I am carving out the openings to install driver's periscopes later. Though now, when I can look at the finished tank in my hand, the result of this labor is almost invisible. This dentist tool from flea market can also be used to shape spherical surfaces. Best random purchase I've ever had. And so upper front plate fits perfectly with very little additional work needed. Now to the engine deck. First a little platform to raise its middle section. With many vehicles and Patton in particular, one question inevitably arises: how to imitate radiator grills? Actually, in this scale I don't think there is any way to imitate them completely true to life. Certainly not in paper. Maybe some 3D printers are capable of achieving it. Anyway, what I can do is to replicate the overall texture, the repeating pattern. So far, the technique that gives the most satisfactory result is to make repeated slices deep enough that they are still attached and I can just turn them up one by one. After the assembly, these arrays will stay secured in place. Initially I was concerned that moisture from acrylic paint can warp them. After all, I had this experience before, but it turned out to be alright. This rear plate was also shaped at the spot in a similar manner to upper front plate. I patched up remaining holes very roughly, but in retrospect should have left it as it is. No one is gonna look there on a finished model. Now that I am already imitating this bolt-shaped hull geometry, I will need to imitate the protruding torsion bar housings as well. And I'll just need to make some rolls and cut them up. Thankfully, unlike on real vehicle, on the model these parts are not load-bearing, so no need to reinforce it or anything. Here are 3 parts for the driver's hatch. For whatever reason I thought I need to imitate the convexity of the original part. Didn't succeed much. The rear area of this tank is rich with details such as telephone box, towing hook, lifting loops, tail lights. All that had to be greatly simplified, though in this case I put extra effort to imitate tail light housings. I have some pieces from cardboard box coated with glossy black paint. I am using this material for periscopes and other optics. I fiddled with these tiny bits a lot to make sure that they are seated properly. Sometimes even too much. Yep. I wanted to make sure that fenders will have flush fit. I could not achieve perfect symmetry, but this margin of error was good enough to be worked with. Inner sides of fenders are inserted just like this and secured with a relatively generous amount of glue. These areas will be out of sight entirely anyway, so I can go overboard if I need. Sooner or later the hull will be united with the running gear, and to make my job easier I am applying base coat in advance. With that out of the way, I switch my focus to the running gear. The American track is a tricky one. I simplified it substantially because I came to realization that I cannot achieve likeness to the original rubber pad ornament. Well, not in a consistent and timely manner at least. But because this pattern overall looks like an array of chevrons divided in the middle, I can just go with that. No easy recipes for the track itself though. But as a bonus I am left with this nice pile of squares now. "28 pieces prepared in advance to produce 12 road wheels and 2 idlers, which are of the same design. Plus 2 extra, just in case. The driving sprocket also had to be changed, primarily because the quantity of track links was not carried over 1:1. As a result, this driving sprocket has only 8 teeth as opposed to 11 on the real thing. Otherwise it would not fit into this new reality. This pointy stick is a precision tool, it ensures proper alignment. Later on I ended up making some more return rollers because on the selected prototype there are 5 of them on each side. Once again, to simplify things, I decided to paint some parts in advance. Return rollers actually turned out to be oversized, but would you have noticed if I didn't mention it? Now with final parts attached, I can do some more painting and also dry brushing. The outer edge of the track is painted with metallic paint. When vehicle is in use, these surfaces come into contact with the driving sprocket, so they stay clean and shiny. Well, unless the tank has just driven over mud. I did mention before that visible parts of suspension are not load-bearing, and as you can see here, they don't come into contact with the wheels whatsoever. Tension of paper alone is more than enough to support almost non-existent weight of this tiny paper vehicle. Now it's finally the time to attach storage boxes and tiny fiddly reinforcing ribs, all 19 of them. The engine exhaust muffler is another detail that I could have simplified but chose not to. I mean, there is this harmonica looking thingy, another one that looks like rabbit ears. The logic here is always like, it will look real nice when it's done. But the harsh reality is that sometimes it just doesn't. This time, thankfully, my efforts did not go to waste. But ironically enough, the hardest part was the outer shell that keeps them together. Most of that hassle is off camera and frankly, you don't need to see it anyway. I remember what I did on the T80. I don't think the result is worth it, so I just install the headlamps and call it a day. The turret starts with the central frame. Its geometry follows the turret's profile. The bottom of the turret is built around simple circular and semicircular shapes. This gap between the two parts of the frame will come in handy later on. This raised rear section is another case where I had to approximate the geometry, and it will not be the last. As a matter of fact, the entire turret of this tank is kinda this way. Some more surface area to improve adhesion. The turret roof turns out to be one of the few parts of this build that has somewhat defined geometry. This part is a recess where the main gun sight is installed. The sides, they had to be iterated and refined. Well, the whole turret had to be iterated actually. Previously I've made 3 failed attempts at making it, and this is an attempt number 4 that is finally successful. Have you ever seen anyone sanding paper with the sandpaper? I would even say this is kind of like woodworking, but hey, all paper is made of wood, so yeah. Now the basket, oh the basket, even greatly simplified it was honestly a pain in the ass. The super glue not super gluing, parts breaking off, all that stuff. I have a technique to make it all out of paper, but on this tank it sticks out too much, so I had to make it less fragile. Okay, here I have some parts of footage that don't really require any additional narration. So I am gonna use this gap to talk about this project more broadly. Why have I chosen Patton tank now? First and the most obvious reason is that it is basically must-have for tank collectors. I mean, it is a Cold War classic, it is American classic, it has basically the same status as a Sherman tank for the Second World War collectors. The second reason is that I'm sort of feeling my own diversity quota. I mean, I have 2 Soviet tanks, one Russian and one fictional that is very distinctly Red 4, so they all can be bunched up together. I also have one British tank and one French vehicle. And I have a desire to represent major tank producing nations in my collection. And thus it had to be either United States or West Germany. And the final reason has everything to do with external features that M48 has. Its bubbly appearance alone makes it challenging enough to recreate out of paper, a material that lends itself much better to angular and polygonal shapes. And this presents a new avenue to develop more techniques. These radiator grills are also a relatively new experience to me. In this sense, at least to me personally, the M48 is a great tank technology demonstrator. But of course, if I continue doing this, I will inevitably encounter some more unfamiliar challenges and some strange looking vehicles. Just like in previous stages where I had to introduce a material other than paper, these rails became a pain point. So this is the second attempt, first one failed. In the end, the most important thing here is to pre-bend this part in a way that you have all the points of contact instantly the moment you attach it. Now the commander's cupola. For the gun mantlet, miniature even by my standards, first I need to make a cylinder. And then I need to extend this cylinder into... Actually, I don't even know what this shape is called in any language that I speak. For the 50 caliber commander's MG I am using a segment of a guitar string. In absence of a proper cutting tool, I am just bending it multiple times until it breaks off. No special tricks here, just hoping that super glue does its job. Here you can see how old piece of paper scarred by trial and error gives way to its successor. The same logic goes into the process of making commander's hatch. Almost the last stage, vision port housings. I wasn't sure about these tiny glossy bits that are supposed to imitate vision ports. I was thinking maybe I should paint the cupola first and then glue them in place. Well, you know what, it doesn't matter now, I ended up doing it off camera anyway. Now, what is a tank without its main gun? Well, unless we are looking at a destroyed vehicle, it can be many things. Like infantry fighting vehicle, armored recovery vehicle, maybe some other engineering vehicle, maybe even BMPT of all things. My point being, a tank needs to have its main gun. So, time to do a barrel roll. Well, to roll the main gun barrel. This 90mm gun has a really unique looking muzzle device. By the way, here I am neglecting the rules of occupational safety. Don't do this at home, please. Is that supposed to work as a muzzle brake? I am not sure. Adding a piece of guitar string to reinforce the barrel against accidental bending or breaking. A conical sleeve to imitate the expansion of the gun barrel at the base. It is also shaped in a way to ensure proper alignment of the mantlet. To fit properly in the turret, the gun also needs extension and expansion. Spacers are placed to maintain the proper gap between the turret and the mantlet. And now the main gun can finally be installed. One layer of crumpled toilet paper or similar tissue will provide exactly the texture that we need for the gun mantlet cover. There are 12 tiny strips of paper to imitate gun mantlet retainers, but for the sake of brevity on video I am stopping at 4. And now it is time to finish painting. As usual, I am relying on cheap acrylics from an art shop mixed by hand. And this is why I am never gonna get that sweet affiliate link from AK Interactive. An airbrush would have been of great assistance in some areas. But because I don't have it, you can now see nice time lapse. For highlights, something like 3:1 ratio of white paint with a base color. The effect is subtle, but it's there. Following step is just application of glossy varnish to prepare the surface for subsequent drenching with panel liner. Well, now that panel liner is completely dry, it is time for the final step. Cleaning up the highlights and large open surfaces with white spirit. Though the actual final step is the application of clear varnish as a final layer of protection, but I don't think there is any point filming it, so I'll just skip to the demonstration of the finished tank.